Good evening, you're watching No Spin. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Well, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has just given what sounded like his farewell speech. In an address to the nation that lasted for more than 30 minutes, Imran Khan has basically said he will not resign ahead of a no-confidence vote against him in Pakistan's parliament this Sunday. He said he's going to fight till the last ball and has accused his opponents of being traitors. So he's clearly setting up the stage for a final clash this Sunday. At the moment, it looks like there is very little chance, if at all, that he would actually win that confidence vote. The numbers are completely stacked against him, with not only members of the opposition parties coming together, but also some 22 MPs of his own party crossing over to the other side, which is why we heard him talk about his record, what he says that he's done for Pakistan, and also talking about that foreign hand conspiracy to overthrow his government. He has named the United States today. There was a lot of speculation on that for the last few days, and today Imran Khan has gone and made that public. Lots to talk about tonight on that big political story across the border, which has ramifications in the entire region. Let's first listen in to what he said about not resigning.
संडे को वोट दी जाएगी. इस संडे को इस मुल्क का फैसला होने लगा कि ये मुल्क किस तरफ अब जाएगा. मुझे लोगों ने, किसी ने कहा जी वो इमरान खान आप रिजाइन कर दें. मैं रिजाइन कर दूं? मैं जो मेरे साथ क्रिकेट खेलते थे वो सारी दुनिया 20 साल जो मैं खेली है, आखिरी गेंद तक मैं मुकाबला करता हूं. मैं कभी हार जिंदगी में नहीं मानी. मैं तो वोट का जो भी रिजल्ट हो जाए, आप देखेंगे कि मैं तो उसके बाद और ज्यादा तकड़ा होकर सामने आऊंगा, जो भी रिजल्ट हो. लेकिन मैं ये देखना चाहता हूं, उस दिन ये मैं चाहता हूं मेरी सारी कौम देखे कि कौन जाके अपने ज़मीर का सौदा करेगा वहां.
Well, joining us straight from Karachi this evening for her first reaction to this interview is Imran Khan. She's a broadcaster, political commentator, and also happens to be Imran Khan's ex-wife. She's very openly written about their marriage and everything else in a book some years ago. Imran Khan, thank you very much for joining us. Your first reaction to that speech?
Bored, Nidhi. It's more of the same story again. It was very predictable. I did watch about a couple of minutes of it, and I was just a bit fed up with the me. I had no reason to join politics. I had everything. I could have talked you through this speech a few hours before the speech went out. I think it was a farewell address, obviously, and I think we persevered with it because this is his last chance to hog the TV screens, as he has done so for many years, even before he came into power. I mean, how the media houses and the television channels gave him coverage through 2014 and even prior to that, and then of course through 2018 to 2022, he has made sure that none of us would get any coverage or get at least limited coverage. In fact, he could not tolerate my journalistic career or even a guest appearance on any show on mainstream TV. There were severe repercussions for anyone who dared to have me as a guest on the show. So I think he spoke to his heart's content and said the same things over and over again. He wants to become a political martyr. He wants to be seen as the late Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. He wants to bring in the American conspiracy. It's laughable. It's delusional of him to think that he has a support base.
But tell me, why didn't he choose to? Why do you think he didn't choose to resign gracefully, knowing that the numbers are stacked against him, or is that just not in his personality to do that?
Graceful is not something that any of us, particularly I, would associate with him. That's not a word that exists in his dictionary. And I think that he is just hanging on to power, with his fists, his knuckles are going white. He's been gently nudged a few times. He's been advised by the Chief of the Army Staff. I believe that more than one meeting took place yesterday. But, he's hanging on to dear life. He's clinging on to this Sherwani. And this is his life. This is all that he wanted in life. He was desperate to become the Prime Minister. He was desperate to become the Prime Minister by hook or by crook, and that's what he did. And now to let go, it's just, he's one of those clingy stalkers, I suppose, who doesn't understand when he's been told to stop it or to let go. That's what he is. This speech is a defining moment for our history because it is a lesson for everyone. It's a textbook example of how to ruin your image, how to be ambition without a cause. I mean, had he done one good thing through these 4 years, the last 4 years, anything that he could be remembered for. I mean, some of the things that he's contributed towards, I hope that we forget it very, very soon. He's contributed to hate politics. He's contributed to using the religion card shamelessly. He's contributed to manipulative and vindictive politics. I mean, the fact that he was saying today that he is not going to bow down, could we dare remind him that he's bowed down everywhere? Apart from bowing down to superstitions, he's bowed down to PMLQ, to Parvez Elahi only a few days ago. He has a very, very short-term memory loss, I think,
but can I ask you that this whole foreign hand theory, and that the United States was somehow conspiring to bring him down and bring him out of office, what do you make of that? I mean, generally South Asian leaders, and we have this historically, we've seen this, they keep talking about the foreign hand, don't they?
So, I mean, the only conspiracy against Imran is Imran himself. I think he is self-destructive. He's always been in self-destructive mode. And the fact to blame, a foreign invasion, some of his die-hard, ardent supporters are going with the hashtag foreign invasion. This is his last-ditch attempt to become Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the OIC and all of that, because he thinks he's a Bhutto. He's the only one who thinks he's a Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. So this is like, borrowed from the Cyrus Vance letter from 1977. Of course, Bhutto showed the letter and it was acknowledged by the US Embassy at the time.
All right, we're just going to try and reconnect with Reham Khan there. She is, of course, a commentator and activist now and a broadcaster in Pakistan, but also was married to Imran Khan until just before that general election in Pakistan, which he won. I don't know if we have her back. All right, Reham Khan, sorry, we got frozen, the joys of the internet. But, sorry, you were talking about this whole foreign hand conspiracy.
I was saying that this is Imran's feeble, last-ditch attempt at becoming Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. He was can never become Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. You remember the 1977 letter of Cyrus Vance at the time, which Bhutto showed. Obviously, there was a letter which the US Embassy acknowledged at the time. And the fact that there is no letter of any threatening letter from the United States of America, what he's referring to is just, it's a fabricated story. This is just a bureaucrat, an outgoing ambassador, a diplomat, giving his analysis of what is being said on TV or what people are saying about the Prime Minister's visit to Russia. I think that he is just using it as crutches. And I can tell you that one of the things that he said in the speech, what we expected him to say, was the fact that he'll come back with full force. Yes, he might be making a little bit of noise, but I don't think that he is going to be rewarded by any political martyrdom. I think that people have seen through him. All the things that I wrote about him 4 years ago, he went ahead and proved them for everyone. This little fabricated story maybe would find a place in some B-grade Bollywood or Lollywood film, but it doesn't exist. It is delusional of him to think that he can even pretend to be Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. God forbid.
Can I though also ask you that, he was a very different person when he was a cricketer, and the image that he had as a cricket superstar, to when he became a politician and the sort of conservative cloak that he surrounded himself with. He's flirted with the radicals. He's turned out to be a very different person as a politician. Did that take you by surprise?
Not at all. I mean, what I know of him is that he will do whatever it takes. He will put on any guise to cling on to fame. I mean, if you asked him to change his identity today, and said that this is how you could become prime minister or stay on being prime minister, he would do it. Between now and Sunday, if there's anything that he can do to cling on to his sherwani, he will do it. Which is why the ludicrous claims in today's speech कि मैं किसी के आगे झुकता नहीं, किसी के आगे झुकूंगा नहीं. I mean, he's bent over backwards towards the establishment, towards PMLQ, towards MQM.
But would it be fair to write him off? Would it be fair to write him off? As you know, politics is, you can never say never. Someone who might be down today is back up tomorrow. So would you say it's not the end of his political career, certainly?
I feel that this is the end of Imran. I feel that this is the end of Imran's political career and of his integrity. And the reason being that he will make a little bit of noise. But I find that he has done so much damage to the entire region, not only Pakistan. And he's damaged Pakistan's image. He's damaged our relationships right, left and center only because of his self-vested selfishness. And I feel that once he's gone, he's not going to get much coverage. He might be used as a pressure lobby, but there's so many other cards that can be used. And I find that this is a huge political win for PMLN as well as for the Pakistan Democratic Movement, because in our history, this is going to be potentially the first no confidence motion that is going to be successful. And why is it successful? It is going to be successful not because the PMLN and the PPP and the rest of the opposition will vote against him, but because Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, Imran's own party, has chosen to vote against him. The fact that his own party is keen to show that they have no confidence in this so-called leader because he's not been a leader. The reason this is a litmus test for popular politics vis-a-vis establishment-supported politics is the fact that it is going to be successful. It's actually successful before the count goes ahead. Incidentally, on my birthday, actually on the 3rd of April. So I think that this is perhaps natural justice, and it's a desperate fall for the only hero Pakistan created, and I think that Pakistan will not be missing Imran. I think that he will make a little bit of.
All right, Reham Khan. Well, interesting that it's your birthday on the 3rd of April. Interesting that it's your birthday on the 3rd of April. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Is that what they say? But thank you very much for giving us your views, the first that we've heard from you after that speech tonight. Thank you for joining us. Well, let me go straight across to our panel now. We have Meher Tarar, senior journalist, joining us also from Pakistan tonight. Suhasini Haider, the National and Diplomatic Affairs editor of The Hindu, is also with us. Also with us is Abdul Samad Yaqub, who's a spokesperson for Mr. Imran Khan's PTI party, who has been with us earlier this week as well, and has been honest enough in admitting right from day one that he was going to have a lot of sleepless nights in the run-up to this confidence vote. Yaqub Saab, I don't know if you heard what Reham Khan was saying, but she believes this is the end of Imran Khan's political career. Do you?
Well, since she's ex-wife of former wife of the Prime Minister, and since she got divorced at that time, I had decided not to comment on anything. I would never had I respond her, and I will not respond her.
Okay,
since she's not a political activist, she has no stakes in the politics. So whatever she says.
But what do you think? Was this a farewell speech, Yaqub Saab?
No. It wasn't. As I told you, that he will never resign. I firmly believe that he will not resign at all. This is he has admitted that even if he may lose the vote in the floor of the House, yet he will not surrender. That will be the new beginning of the end, and we will fight with them on the floor of the House and outside the Parliament in the streets, and we'll haunt them for long.
All right. Remaining defiant till the end. Suhasini Haider, your take, on what we heard Imran Khan say. Did it sound like a goodbye, defiant as he was?
Well, I think it was definitely an acknowledgement of the tough position he finds himself in, even tougher than perhaps the rally that he addressed a few days ago, because now it's become clear that not only are some members of the PTI not going to vote for him, but many of the major allies have now already announced that they will not be voting for him at the trust vote on Sunday if it goes through at 11:30. I think what we really heard was Imran Khan making the point that he is going to take his fight or his political campaign further ahead. He's not bowing out of the political landscape, as it were. I think the last-ditch effort to bring out some kind of a foreign conspiracy does seem to wear a little bit thin. Because firstly, the purported letter that was a threat from a foreign government from the United States doesn't seem to actually have panned out quite that way. But it does show a politician who is clutching at every straw and hoping that something will happen between now and Sunday that will change the way the wind seems to be blowing in Islamabad right now.
Meher Tarar, what next then if and it looks like he's going to lose that confidence vote at the moment, but what happens after that?
Hi Nidhi, good to see you back on screen. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm not a journalist. I have to keep saying this to everybody who invites me on any show, because I have been part of media, but I write for newspapers, and people for some reason think that whoever writes, you and I, we both write for Gulf News.
Okay, so columnist.
वो कहते हैं कि जो अखबार में लिखता है वो भी journalist है, because it changes,
sure, fair enough,
the impact of what I'm trying to say. So that's why I try to explain to people that journalists and columnists are different people. But the thing is, I was just googling it for another show of NDTV just now. I wanted to get the exact date. On 1st November of 1989, the first. Benazir Bhutto survived a no confidence motion. Guess who it was? Who it was moved by? Nawaz Sharif and his Islami Jamhuri Party, Jamhuri Ittihad. Even at that time, he had an Ittihad which was called Islami Jamhuri Ittihad. Right now, the head of his alliance is a person who's against women in power, who talks constantly against MDs in Pakistan. He incites violence. He wants chaos. He's against everything modern. He considers everyone who's not a Muslim kafir, and that is the person who's heading the party that is about to bring a dramatic change in Pakistan. As far as what Rehan was saying, the thing is, when somebody finishes their statement with a comment on their personal relationship with the person they are talking about, I think it kind of shows how authentic their opinion or their analysis of the situation is. Imran Khan has not made up the letter. It's not a letter written by another country to Pakistan. It is not a conversation between an ambassador and an official of another country. Things were said clearly. They were said that we do not approve of this and this.
But are you saying you believe the foreign hand that the US
no,
is inspired?
Honestly, yes. I believe you have to understand. I am not just speaking as a PTI supporter. Honestly, if you had invited me here for Nawaz Sharif's dismissal, I would have defended that. I would have defended his defense as well. Right now, you're talking about a prime minister who's not facing he's not facing any accusation. If there is no allegation, there is no allegation of corruption, there is no allegation of power, misuse of power, there is no real reason for Imran Khan to be, I use the word ousted.
But he's fallen out with the army. Isn't that reason enough in Pakistan? If you don't get on with the army?
So this should go in Imran Khan's favor now. Now, since there's all this chaos, at least people should stop saying that he's selected by the army. If I were to say that Pakistan establishment has nothing to do with Pakistan's elections, I would be lying. But honestly,
okay.
I'm so idealistic. I do want to believe that things are changing. If they say that they are not interfering, I want to believe that they are not interfering, and at least superficially they are not. But obviously,
but Suhasini Haider, come on. I mean, let's face it. The Pakistani army may have said it was neutral, but that's as good as saying we're throwing you under the bus, isn't it?
No, and you know, I think the point has to be made that regardless of the fact that Pakistan does have elections, nobody really comes to power in Pakistan without being on the right side of the military. And I think that is the single reason why we have seen that in 75 years, since 1947, no prime minister in Pakistan has completed a 5-year term. So the idea that that the Pakistani military is somehow completely disconnected from this, from what is playing out, I think would be very naive. I think it's very clear that the military establishment, that General Bajwa, have had issues with Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan himself has said things like only an animal can be neutral, you must stand on the right side when referring to the military, showing that there is a kind of distance between them. Why that came about, given that when he did come to power, it seemed as if, you know, the opposition called him the selected, not elected prime minister, that kind of thing, that we can always go into. After all, each of the leaders of the parties that are standing against him today have at some point in their own careers faced the end of their government at the hands of the same military. Right. When it has decided that they are not happy with what they are doing at the helm of affairs in Pakistan. But I don't think that it's only about, you know, about saying that it is because the military has come out against Imran Khan, that is the only thing that there is against him. The opposition has clearly made a case that there has been a failure on many counts, and Pakistan is facing an economic crisis. It is facing a crisis when it comes to Afghanistan. It is facing a crisis when it comes to continuously being on the FATF and not being able to get off that grey list, which is putting stringent financial restrictions on the country. And Mr. Khan has, let's face it, he has actually been fairly outspoken, I should say. He has maybe not been diplomatic in his relations with many countries. After all, the relationship with India could have, in any case, been not great between the two countries. But Mr. Khan's very personal attacks on Prime Minister Modi, calling him a Hindu supremacist, calling India a country that is now being ruled by a Nazi ideology, is not likely to endear him in not just in India but in other countries as well that do have relations.
Absolutely.
It goes for America. The United States, remember, has not reached out to Mr. Khan at all.
Right.
But
Mr. Biden hasn't called him yet. That's what.
So I think we're seeing that position where Army and America maybe on the same page, and I think that's what Mr. Khan is also trying to say, hint at when he gives that letter.
Yaqub Saab, if I just had to ask you that, would you concede? What would you say are the mistakes that have been made by Imran Khan as Prime Minister? Would you concede? I mean, nobody's perfect, right? So, what are the mistakes he's made?
The only mistake since he became the Prime Minister is, I believe, that he didn't opt the conventional and typical ways in which the previous Prime Minister too, like giving enhancing the cabinet and then giving the extra funds, using the state funds to bribe, in other words, to bribe these members. And he can make such a lot of compromises with the opposition. I mean, he can make adjustments like the way Zardari used to make. I mean, this is the reason. I mean, he always takes a principled stand. That principled stand brought him at this narrow sort of situation. But on the other hand, I believe that I would respect the mandate of the opposition, united opposition, if I believe that this move is indigenous, which I don't believe. That's the reason we accuse the foreign hand.
All right.
I mean, although things are going to be held under the constitutional framework, there is nothing unconstitutional which is done by the opposition. So, but we believe that this is not the indigenous move.
All right, you're sticking to your foreign hand theory. All right, but I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us, listening to that speech firstly, and helping us analyze it as well. We're out of time. Let's see how Sunday plays out. I'm sure there are still more fireworks in store. Thanks for watching.